Yeah.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? March 10th, 2020, here with BobbyFi. My name's Dan Karpuc. I'm here with you for the first time. I manage the content over at BetQL, so I thought, hey, this is going to be fun. I'll hop on with BobbyFi. He's been doing an awesome job carrying this show. So, Bobby, glad to be with you.
Yeah, man.
Excited for this slate.
I'm excited for this slate as well. It's great to be with you. It's great to be healthy. I'm really excited about this slate, and I'm excited to be doing the show with you. I think it'll be good. We'll bring up some good things from a betting point of view for BetQL. We'll talk a little DFS. We'll talk, bets we like that, the site that BetQL likes, and get into some trends. I'm excited, man.
Absolutely. Now, what are your thoughts? Can we just take you back to yesterday? Can you just give a brief rundown of what happened last night? I know you were very, very cautious towards, telling everybody limit your bankroll tonight, and hopefully they took your advice.
I hope so too. Yeah. I mean, some of the scores that I cashed with, I'd be having two guys combining for 10 fantasy points. Thanks Barstool Sports for the automatic. For some reason, when they send me things, it automatically just starts playing. It doesn't. I got the volume shut off, all the notifications off, and somehow it always comes from them. Anyway, no, I was hesitant about it, and then I was sick. I didn't play as many lineups. I think that there was probably some edge to be gained by realizing once they were going to sit the other guys that it's really a forfeit of the game. Or once they even said it about Bledsoe, it's probably worth it to start betting on the Denver side of things. Although I'm not even sure what the final thing ended up at, because again I was sort of out of it. But from a straight betting standpoint, once we start seeing the team sort of throw in the towel like that, you got to jump all over the other side. Although every now and then they'll rally together. They were playing literally they didn't start it. Their top 6 players were out. So I think that from a DFS perspective, we should have been able to reach and find some extra value playing the other Antetokounmpo. We could have probably found some extra value and maybe stayed a little bit away from the DiVincenzo play, because even on DraftKings he was 50% owned in high buy in tournaments, even after they announced that he wasn't starting. But he wasn't supposed to start because he doesn't start in general. But at the same time, after they announced everybody else out, the fact that he didn't start should have been sent up warning signs. So we could have adjusted, we could have pivoted better, but we did a good job. I mean, overall, I don't want to go near games like that because it's just a weird situation and it's terrible for DFS. So ugly DFS night, but we're ready to get back after it on a real slate tonight.
Absolutely. And thoughts on today's slate? I'm pumped up for it. What about you?
It's awesome. There's a lot of great, just flat out bets that I like. That I'm actually curious. I was looking at the BetQL model. I'm not going to give away the stuff that's not premium, but I would. There were some things that I agreed with and I was really heavily on, so I was excited about that. And then there were some things that I was a little bit, I maybe had a little bit of a different take on. From a DFS standpoint, it's a terrific slate. There's just it's not about trying to find the good plays. It's about trying to find the better plays because they're all amazing. There's a bunch of guys in the high end that you really want tonight. There's a bunch of people you're going to reach on value for. But my guess is we still have news yet to come. That's just been the sort of common trend. And with 10 games on the slate, it would be hard for me to imagine that we've seen the end of this. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before we get into this, just wanted to mention that if you go to betql.co and you type in BobbyFi at checkout, you get 30% off your first month. This works for 3-month and annual plans as well. We had someone take advantage of the annual plan offer yesterday. So maximize those savings, take advantage of this. And just so you guys know, our NBA model went 9-0 across 3, 4, and 5-star bets yesterday. Hard to do better than that, right?
Pretty awesome.
Now's the perfect time to lock in our annual VIP all sport package at a discounted rate as well. So head over to betql.co. Also, if you're kind of on the fence, go over to the app store of your choice, type in BetQL, download our app for free. We have free articles, free polls, all sorts of cool stuff for you to check out if you're on the fence before we can sway you to make that subscription. So feel free to check that out. Today we have our Knicks and Wizards game unlocked for you guys, so you can go check out the game page over there for free and check out all of our best bets. So you ready to get into this slate? Let's get right into this thing. All right, so Celtics and Pacers, 7 o'clock tip. Boston's a 3-point favorite. Over-under is 214.5. On the Celtics side, Jaylen Brown's out. Robert Williams is questionable. On the Pacers side, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb, Doug McDermott are all out, and Victor Oladipo is questionable. The Celtics have gone 4-1, 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 road games. So that's something to chew on. They also opened as a 1-point favorite. They're currently a 3-point favorite, as I mentioned. So that's been the highest line movement on the slate so far. And just to mention on the Pacers side of this game, Sabonis has had a 38.3% usage rate in those last 5 games. So that's the 5th highest of any player on the slate. And that's above James Harden and Russell Westbrook in those last 5 games there. So what are you doing with the Celtics side?
For me,
from a DFS perspective.
Well, just from a straight sports betting perspective, I would bet the Celtics. I actually like the Celtics to flat out win this game in Indiana personally. It's a bet I'm actually considering making. Again, there's some other bets I like, and I'm focused mostly on DFS today. But I am going to make some bets that I feel really good about. This is one of the ones that's on the list on my second tier. So I like it from a sports betting perspective. From a DFS perspective, I can see making arguments for guys like, and we'll get into it when I show a little bit of my lineups later, but guys like Tatum and Kemba, and there's a lot of guys I can make arguments for. The truth is, I'm much more interested in the Indiana side. If Oladipo plays, I'm gonna be all over him. I've been talking about this regularly for a while. This guy is not the player that he is at 56, 5,300 across the industry, and he's so low owned that he's gonna put up 55 one of these days and break a slate and win it for us. And he shot 6 of 18 in his last game. He put up 31 fantasy points in that game. And you're talking about an unowned guy without Brogdon who has that kind of usage that could literally be one of the highest on the slate, and no one's talking about him. So he's a really contrarian, like a GPP play that I'm looking at on both sides. I really like Sabonis solid. Yes, everything. I just think that it's a fine play. I don't know if it's a GPP winning play. I'm okay with TJ Warren. Of course, if anything should happen more, like Oladipo should be out. And even with Oladipo, I still have interest in Aaron Holiday. But there's just a lot of great plays in this slate. So mostly not as high on this game from a DFS standpoint.
Got it. And just something to note also, Robert Williams kind of stole some of Enes Kanter's minutes last game.
Yeah.
I was watching that game. I'm a Celtics fan, so I was watching that game. And he was so active on both sides of the floor. So I don't know what his status is. We're going to probably find that out.
Yeah.
But that's just something to note. I think Kanter played like 6 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it takes Kanter out of play. But you can't play Williams on this slate because there's just too many other plays. And it's too speculative in my opinion. We got Eric in chat. I just want to address a few guys in chat. Guys, really appreciate you're here. I'm always happy to hear you say what's up. Get the like button. We really appreciate it. But Eric, I had said Abrasive already. You came in. K9 Bronco, Joe Paglia. These guys I've known for a while. They're awesome guys. Just from the different DFS chat rooms. But Eric's talking about, he came in 7th for a qualifier last night. Man, I'm really sorry about that. He was qualifying for the big one, so that would have been a nice one for him. He's looking at stacking the Pacers tonight, and he wants to know if it's a crazy idea. I actually like their side of the ball, but I think that you're probably reaching with the Turners and Sabonis, who are going to have some ownership. I just think it's not on the slate overall. There's just other guys I'd rather play. I would rather play Damian Lillard than Sabonis, for example. It's just they're in different positions, obviously, but there's just a lot of other plays that I prefer. But no, you're not crazy for thinking it. I don't know who you want to run it back with from the Celtics. I would suggest Tatum if you must do it, but overall, not my favorite game for DFS, except for I do like a one pacer or two, and that one mostly being Oladipo for me, which I could eat my words on that one. This is a bold pick, but when he wins somebody all the money, hopefully it's me or one of you guys out there in chat.
Definitely. And that 214.5 total doesn't really seem too appealing considering what we're about to say in 2 games from now when this monster numbers can come up. But yeah, so moving on to Knicks and Wizards tipping off at 7. That's the other early game. The Wizards are 4.5-point favorites, and the total is 228.5. Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable. John Wall's out, obviously. Ish Smith is also out. Jerome Robinson is questionable. So a couple points to make here. The Wizards, they have one of the best offenses in the entire NBA. So they rank 6th in the league in scoring. I don't think many people really realize that. 115.5 points per game. But they do have the league's worst defense by a bunch of different stats as well. So defensive rating, dead last. So that's just something to note as well. In our model, Troy Brown on RotoQL is popping off. He's only 3,700 on DraftKings, and we project him for 6.59x value there. And I just wanted to mention also from BetQL, And this is accessible to everybody to see the public and sharp numbers right now. But public and sharp bettors have been all over the Wizards today. So what are your thoughts on this game? Do you agree with them?
Yeah, I would definitely bet the Wizards in this spot. I don't know. I actually think I feel like almost a little better about the Celtics, to be honest, than I do about this one. Obviously, this is a game it's a frustrating game from a DFS perspective. It's one that we want to attack. It's one that we want to get into. And, I just don't know. Like, I can't figure out how to trust the Knicks, and I cannot. There's a lot of great plays, Bradley Beal being one of them, but there's a lot of great plays in the slate. I think what I'm doing more of is finding myself pivoting to guys like Hachimura, who might get you that 6-7x you want on both sides. Or I'm looking at Troy Brown, like we talked about. I like that I saw that projection on RotoQL because personally I was a little bit nervous about how much Troy Brown I kept finding in my lineups, and I keep telling myself there's going to be other value to open up, Bobby. There's going to be other value. But in the meantime, Troy Brown certainly is a good placeholder and still an interesting play, even if we do get some other value.
Absolutely. And with this Wizards front court being, fully healthy, which, really hasn't happened too much since the beginning of the season. Now you got Mo Wagner back. You have Thomas Bryant back. And these guys are really cheap. Are these any, tournament flyers that you'd be interested in, or are you not interested in this group right now?
I have definitely have some interest. Like, let's just say for argument's sake, I'm playing 10 tournaments on DraftKings. I will have at least one with Bryant. Just because at some point that minutes could, even if he could do it in 22, 24 minutes, and he's so cheap that the only reason that wouldn't happen tonight, that I wouldn't have at least 10% of them, let's say, is that I would probably be playing. There's other guys to speculate on, and if somebody else if we get some other injury news, he's just not the best value, but he definitely has the upside to crush a slate.
Got it. Cool stuff. So now moving towards this monster. The T-Wolves and Rockets tipping off at 8 o'clock. The Rockets are 12.5-point favorites. The over-under is 247. That's a huge number, obviously. So Karl-Anthony Towns out, Evan Turner out, Keelan Martin out. Ben McLemore and Eric Gordon are both questionable, which is kind of interesting. A couple things to note here. The Rockets have lost 4 straight games against the Knicks, Clippers, Hornets, and Magic. And sharp money is on the under here. 247 is gigantic total. Mm-hmm. And on RotoQL, this is also kind of interesting. Both Harden and Westbrook are projected for 60-plus DK points, and those are the only 2 players on RotoQL that are projected for that amount today. So it kind of brings up the question, with this total and on this slate, would you ever consider rostering both of these guys together, especially if McLemore and Gordon are both out?
If there was a few less games, I think I would. And I actually think you could almost do it. I would really want some positive runbacks on the other side. And I like another guy on their side in this game. I really like Robert Covington tonight. So I personally am looking at it like I'm mostly playing one of them in most of my lineups. I don't have them together in my big buy-ins. I think I might have them together in one of my smaller ones, maybe running it back with a Beasley or something like that. I think I have that on FanDuel. But it's a great game. I prefer Westbrook. I just want to make that clear. Now, given the numbers, even with RotoQL, given the price difference, especially on DraftKings, Westbrook would seem to be the stronger play. On FanDuel, it's an interesting conversation, to say the least. But I'm all over Westbrook tonight, especially. I think that he smashes here. I like this game stack because, especially on FanDuel, you can do it very cost effectively. There's about 6 guys from the Wolves who you could make an interesting case for with this, the current health that they're at. And this is a game that if it stays close, you're probably going to get 3 to 5 guys who are crushing on both sides. I also like Daniel House, by the way, for the Rockets as a long shot tournament play. He's been disappointing, but the minutes are so secure, and in this environment, he should thrive. I also like so on the Wolves side, though, I really like D'Angelo Russell. I really like, which is weird because I don't usually like him. I like Juancho Hernan-Gomez quite a bit. I like Naz Reid on FanDuel. I think that price he could really smash in 25 to 28 minutes. I think 28 is really possible if they're doing well with him in there. And I think that when the spreads get this high from a sports betting standpoint, I would rather just err. Like, this Rockets team could win this game by 40 points. Like, but they could lose this game. They are one of the streakiest teams. This is still a totally unique situation with the way that they're playing with the small ball lineup. I think it's worth taking a shot to bet on Minnesota to cover, but I don't feel enough conviction to probably pull the trigger myself. I just think that's the way I would lean in this type of situation.
Gotcha. No, I definitely agree with what you're saying there for sure. That should definitely be one of the most interesting ones to keep tabs on here. If they straight up lose this game, you might see a little bit of a panic from some of the Rockets fans
for sure.
out there.
Without question.
Especially 3 losses, one being to the Knicks, one being to the Hornets, one being to the T-Wolves. I think that would create a little bit of panic there in Houston. So that should be an interesting one. So moving forward to one of the most interesting games on this slate, I think, Magic and Grizzlies tipping off at 8 o'clock. Memphis is a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 220. Evan Fournier is out. Jonathan Isaac's out. Al-Farouq Aminu is out. Justice Winslow, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Brandon Clark are out for the Grizzlies. Now, the over has hit in 11 straight Magic games. And just for some context for everybody watching, the over started 21-29 in Orlando's games this season. So there's been a radical shift in the way that the Magic have been playing over these last 11 games that has contributed to that, which we'll get into in a second. But with an over-under of 220, that's pretty appealing, I think, there is the over in this matchup. But the public and sharp bettors are also hammering Memphis against the spread for what that's worth as well. But what's your perspective on this game from a sports betting angle?
Really, really trying to figure out why the spread is where it is. It's been freaking me out all day. It's the one I've missed. I've already made this bet today, so I'm taking the over in this game. I just don't understand why it is where it is. But I'm almost like worried there's something I'm missing or something because it just I could have guessed this game would have been at least 10 points higher. I really think it's like that crazy. That's what my first instinct was today. So assuming that it is going to go over and play higher and all that stuff, I think you've got a lot of interesting plays in this game from a DFS standpoint. The issue is there's a lot of good plays in a lot of games, and it's really weird to try and play these guys. I can't quite find the lineup that I really like. So I just will bring up, I think what I'm going to end up doing is just playing some individuals from this game. I like Vooch. I think that a lot of people are going to jump all over Andre Drummond tonight. I like that very much. But like on FanDuel, where they're basically the same price, how can a guy who's going to be have twice the ownership of the other guy when he has so much less certainty, and they both have been crushing basically equally? So I would go with the guy who has certainty at lower ownership, which is not the way you'd think it would be, but it is. So I think Valanciunas is a decent long shot play on DraftKings. I think John Morant is an excellent play. What's really hard to figure out about the Memphis team in general and why their games have gone under a little bit at times actually during the season, they've played in more blowouts than any team, both on the winning and losing side. And you see it recently. Like every closest game was like 19 points. Like they just don't play close games very often, and it's a showing of a young team. But the guys I really like also, I really like Markelle Fultz for tournaments on FanDuel especially. I like Terrence Ross for tournaments, obviously. I know these are not cash game guys, but they're guys you play in tournaments. And on the Orlando side, I like Gordon and Vooch, not together, on FanDuel. And I think that's pretty much other than the other Orlando guys. That's the problem with Memphis. I can't really find anybody that I really want to play outside of maybe John Morant and maybe Jonas, but I really like the Orlando side.
Right. And just something to mention about Aaron Gordon. I don't know if it was the All-Star dunk contest snub, but this dude has come back and he's been given a lot of responsibility facilitating the ball. He's averaged, I think it's 6.5 assists since the All-Star break, which is way above his career average of 2.5. So he's been seeing a lot of, ball handling responsibilities. And I think that, he's a stellar tournament play. I don't think he's going to be, overly popular on this slate. And with, Evan Fournier out, who knows? He might have pop off for one of those huge games. But yeah, I think that your analysis was spot on in this one, picking and choosing.
I forgot to mention, Abrasive pointing it out in chat real quick, and we probably should address a few of the thoughts from chat. He's saying Malik Beasley and Wancho. Yeah, I love Malik Beasley. If I didn't say his name, that was just by pure accident because there's a lot of But I guess that Malik Beasley is definitely one of the strong plays in that game that I didn't mention. Some of these are going a few games back, but we've got people talking about it. Something I didn't really talk about. I like Elfrid Payton, and I'm having trouble paying the price for Beal on the other side because I like Westbrook and Harden and some of the other guys so much. He's saying running back Payton and Beal. If we had some extra value and I could squeeze in one of those Houston guys, I think I'd be looking to do something like that in some tournaments. But at where it stands, it's just kind of hard for me to pick Beal straight away ahead of those guys. Whereas I'm happy to play Beal alongside those guys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just a real quick thing. People are talking about the Beasley thing more and more. Bobby Covington, Naz Reid's low ownership is drawing some attention. Sheets just came in the chat. I want to say hi to Nita Sampson, Nita Rodriguez. Sorry, it's hard to see your last name different over here. I just want to say what's up to these people. I always like to get what their thoughts, and basically they didn't have anything that was any questions or anything, but that was just sort of like some things that are happening in there.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, we definitely appreciate the more comments, the better, guys. Tell us, what you want to see on this. Tell us what you don't want to see. Give us as much feedback as you can, because right now, as Bobby's been saying, the last couple weeks here, right now you guys are the select few people who are watching this. We're trying to grow this thing to become huge. So, your insight and your comments are going to be taken definitely into consideration. So that's definitely awesome. It's all free to you right now, which is I think the best part.
Why not?
So all right, moving on to Cavaliers and Bulls. Darius Garland, Dante Exum, Kevin Porter Jr., Tristan Thompson, all out for the Cavs. Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, Chandler Hutchison, Luke Cornett, Ryan Arcidiacono is questionable, but the guys before that are all out. The Cavaliers, this is kind of interesting. They're 2-5 straight up, but 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 road games. So that's kind of interesting. A little nugget there. Denzel Valentine is 3,900 on FanDuel, and we project him for 6.49x. And Colin Sexton, if you guys haven't realized, he has kind of popped off here on these last 5 games. 40.2% usage, which is the highest on the entire slate. And with Garland out and, kind of project that to happen again, similar high usage tonight. What do you think about Sexton, and what do you think about the Cavaliers in general?
Yeah, I here's the issue. I like a lot of point guards on FanDuel, and I like Sexton. He's an incredibly contrarian play tonight that nobody's playing this guy on like DraftKings at all. And like you said, the usage is there. The assist numbers are still very low for someone with that usage rate. But I mean, talk about 40 in 3 of his last 4, and 50 and 55 in 2 of those last 4. It's hard not to have some interest. The matchup isn't ideal. The pace isn't ideal. I like some of these Cavs. He's the one I like, but I somehow am finding I don't have really in my lineups when it comes down to it. There's just other plays I like a little bit better. That's really my only reason, because I do think it's a strong play. The best plays in this game for me are really simple from a DFS standpoint. I mean, first of all, from a straight betting side of this, I wouldn't touch this game. I don't trust anything about this game at all. Teams that are really bad this time of year, it's just tricky. But I do like it from a DFS perspective. I really like Wendell Carter on both sites. I think he'll get ownership on FanDuel, but not DraftKings. He's a much better player than people actually remember. I hope they're game log watching, because he's going to blow up really, really soon. I'm also a fan of on FanDuel, Kevin Love and Larry Nance are both cheap enough to where they're in play, even with Drummond playing. Drummond is also in play over there. You get a pick between him and Vooch, and I'm telling you, on FanDuel, I think Drummond ends up being higher owned than Vooch, but we will see. And then also I like I like Drummond too. I just like Vooch a lot too. On the Bulls side, there's a lot of value on, and I don't know if I feel as good about Shaq Harrison as everybody else does. So I'm okay taking a fade of a guy who's going to be that high owned on this slate. Personally,
he's always such a tough name to click.
Yeah,
I always find that.
And like he's 5K. It's not like he's 3K anymore. Yeah,
last year he had wasn't he get he was in the 40s and 50s a couple times last year.
He has blow-up games.
Yeah. And I think that sticks with people a little bit, because his name is very tough for me to click for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Bulls side is all speculation plays to me too, but I include him as one of those. So I have some ownership of him because I do think there's a path for him to get there, don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to he's going to be way below the field for me. I'm way over the field in all the other guys, but not crazy high. I want some Otto Porter. I think he's got minutes upside there. I think there's minutes upside, obviously, for Carter, and I think there is for Markkanen as well. They're all at reasonable prices. I think there's something we can consider. We'll get into it when we look at my lineups, but I like all these other guys. I don't like Denzel Valentine. I don't like that. I don't want anybody else. But Kobe White, Markkanen, Carter, Porter, that's where I'm leaning in this game, and I'm not loading up on them. I'm just playing little pieces here and there, sort of like I'm doing with Cleveland. Getting a little run back with either Drummond, Love, I guess you could use Sexton, but I'm more using Nance. Oh, Dellavedova. Dellavedova is playing so many minutes, even though it feels like a tough game to click at 4K. It is
14 assists. I think 15 assists last game.
I know. I mean, he's one of the highest projected guys to hit 7 times their value out there, or that has a chance to hit for 7 times their value. Sorry, one of the most likely to hit that mark. That's huge, and I'll use those savings on DraftKings. I won't play them on FanDuel because you don't need those point guard savings as much, but I like Cedi Osman on FanDuel. A lot of people are going to pay down for there's a lot of guys in the same range that are cheap, and I think Osman is going to be really, really just unowned at 4.4 on FanDuel. I'm interested, not interested at 5.4 on DraftKings.
Gotcha. Moving on to Mavericks and Spurs. So we got Jalen Brunson, Seth Curry, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Willie Cauley-Stein, Dwight Powell, all out. Luka and Dorian Finney-Smith are questionable. DeJounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl, both out. LaMarcus Aldridge, Lonnie Walker, questionable. First of all, is there any speculation you might have on Luka and LaMarcus in this one? Are you leaning towards, are these guys, you think these guys are going to suit up tonight? And how much is that going to play into how you bet on this game or from a DFS perspective?
Well, yeah, I'm interested in both Luka. Here's how I see this. So DeMar DeRozan was going to be the highest owned player on the slate today, and now, or one of them, and now he's not going to be owned, I don't think, because LaMarcus Aldridge is back. So I'm interested in him, and I like running it back with either Luka or Porzingis. I'm just going to keep playing Porzingis. Look, I hate one bad game, and I mean, people just haven't played him. I keep getting him at 3 and 4% ownership, and he's putting up 55, 75. He's just ridiculous, whether Luka's there or not. I like Luka too. I don't want to play them necessarily together. I don't think it's the worst thing in general. They're not a bad correlation. They can both go off, but I would rather just play one of them. And then I would rather run it back with DeRozan. That's pretty much all my thoughts from a DFS perspective on that game. From just a straight betting perspective, I think that one thing that concerns me about this game is when the Mavs are healthy, I feel like they should be more than a 3-point favorite here. And I think the Mavs -3 is one of the better bets tonight for me.
Yep. And also something to point out about the total here. The over has gone 38 and 23 in San Antonio games and 40 and 25 in Dallas games this season. I know some of these guys are banged up here, but that's just something to note as well.
That's an important point. But I do think that one thing, just to try and predict, if we have to, does that spread make it seem less or more likely that Luka's playing? I thought Luka was going to play. Now I feel a little concerned. Just because I just feel like that spread should be 5 or 6.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. I agree completely. Also want to mention on RotoQL, our model is showing a lot of love for both of these guys in the backcourt here. Patty Mills projected at 6.84x at 3,100 on DraftKings, and a little bit higher priced Derek White, 4,600, 6.76x. So what's your perspective on either of these guys? I think you're a Derek White fan, are you not?
I like Derek White. I think he's always has a nice tournament play, so I always like him. But yeah. I don't know. So with LMA back, I'm not sure that I can count on all that usage. I still know they're going to get some more chances because they're just without DeJounte in there. But I don't know if it's that much of a bump. It's not like they did that much more without LMA. I did initially like them quite a bit today. I'll have a little bit of Mills, a little bit of White, but it's not a priority for me anymore.
Gotcha.
And Forbes is in that conversation just because the minutes could really swing one way or the other with the way that they use those guards.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the night slate. We'll start with the Suns and Blazers tipping off at 10 o'clock. Portland is a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under is 232.5. Cam Johnson, Kelly Oubre, Frank Kaminsky are out. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. Rodney Hood, Zach Collins, Yusuf Nurkic are out for the Blazers. The Blazers are 7-1 straight up over the last 8 games as home favorites. That's kind of an interesting one there. On RotoQL, Ricky Rubio on FanDuel is one of our top value plays of the day. 6,700 and 6.66x projection. He had that monster outing there last time out.
Yeah.
And Mikal Bridges, I found this super interesting. Over the last 5 games, he's had a 39% usage rate.
I know.
Which is the second highest on the slate, which is unbelievable to me. So that's definitely something I wanted to highlight there. What are your thoughts on these Suns, and can we trust them tonight?
I feel like trust wouldn't be the word I would use, but I think that I can definitely take shots on them for GPPs. We don't know about the DeAndre Ayton health, and that's going to mean a lot. Like everybody will suffer a little bit assuming Ayton's in, and I'm sort of assuming that he is in right now, but I don't really know is the truth. It's a tough time to figure these things out. So if we have to speculate, I still think you can play all the guys. I like Rubio regardless, especially on FanDuel. He's just so cheap. But on DraftKings even, he's still a good play at 7,500. I like Bridges better on FanDuel at 54 versus 58. I don't know how much of him I'm going to end up getting to, but I do like him, especially if I'm going to assume Ayton's in. I'm going to assume some of everything gets taken away from all these guys. So I'm not quite as high on that side, but I would like to run somebody back. I think I actually have Rubio as my highest owned Sun. And I'm loving Damian Lillard. He's one of my overall top plays of the night. I don't care about recent stuff. I play tournaments. I play to win tournaments. Damian Lillard at this price should not be 22% owned or 20% owned or whatever he's going to end up being. I think he's one of the best plays on the entire slate. And right now, the current builds I'm building, just to give a little away, a lot of them are the Lillard Westbrook or Lillard Harden, and then figuring out the other value or the other runbacks I can put from there.
Very cool. So what's your perspective on Hassan Whiteside? This is one guy where, I should just put out on Twitter if I have him at my original lineup and I take him out because he ends up going off every single time. He's just one of those guys for me that I can never seem to get right. It seems to me like the effort factor is definitely something to take note of with this guy. But what's your perspective in this matchup? Is this a good spot for Whiteside? Is this someone to take a flyer on tonight?
It's a better spot if Ayton's playing. Everybody doesn't realize Baines is actually a decent defender. Ayton, by the way, from Sheets, thanks in chat. He has participated in shoot around, which is a good sign. So Ayton. Okay, so I'm just not that high on Whiteside. I'm not a guy who plays a ton of Whiteside. So here's my argument: I'm already in love with Damian Lillard. He's going to be in 40% of my lineups. It's hard. Whiteside's the same price. I'm not going to play both of them together. So Whiteside's sort of on the outs. I also like other centers. I'd rather take the completely unowned Kristaps Porzingis, who, by the way, even though Whiteside has been great, Kristaps Porzingis has actually flashed a higher ceiling than Whiteside has. So I'm just sort of leaning that route a little bit. And so for me, he's one of the guys I will be way below the field on. If he puts a monster game, I think I can make up for it elsewhere. It's a huge slate. So I'm not going to say he's going to kill me, but he's the kind of guy who can kill you because he can put up, one of those crazy, crazy games. But I'm just okay with passing on it on this slate.
Got it. Cool stuff. All right, so we got the Clippers and Warriors tipping off at 10:30. The Clippers are 11.5-point road favorite, 226.5 total. Joakim Noah is questionable. He's back. Kai Bowman, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, all out. And Steph Curry is questionable. So just a couple notes to make here. The Clippers haven't won as a double-digit road favorite this season. They've only been double-digit road favorites twice, and they also don't play again until Friday. So that's just something to note as well in terms of the whole load management situation. However, in this matchup, who knows how long it will take for Kawhi Leonard to get to take a seat on the bench. But what's your perspective on this game, and just in overall from a betting perspective? I know that you're not a fan of the double-digit spreads, but in this matchup, in such a lopsided one, what's your mentality here?
I'd like to get it. I don't have this with me. I would love to figure out what how they've done versus the spread at home this year, because I think that they've actually been okay. Golden State, and I don't want to touch it from a betting perspective. I think Golden State can keep it close enough-ish, but that might still be 15 or 20 points. So it's not. I just don't feel good enough to touch it personally. I feel good about it. The Clippers are really good. I feel like they come out strong. I think they win the game fairly controlled-wise, but with Steph there, the energy, they're going to try and bring their best effort in their stadium. I actually like this a little bit. I really like Paul George in GPPs. I think he's a really, really good tournament play. And even in a blowout scenario, I'm not worried about it. I think we play some Paul George tonight.
Got it. The Warriors are 13-14 against the spread as a home underdog this season.
Oh wow, huh? I guess I was a little bit off on that one, but it always felt like they just had played a couple teams like really, really well when they were terrible and just dismantled. So maybe that's why I thought of it. But
gotcha. I remember on a couple of the nationally televised games.
Yeah.
They really. I think it was the Rockets. I think they
that was the one. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that game.
Everybody was worried the Rockets were going to win by 50, and that they ended up crushing the Rockets.
Exactly. Was that on Christmas? That might have been.
No, it wasn't the Christmas game at all.
Was it?
I don't think it was. I can't remember the Christmas game.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question.
All right. So the final game we'll bring up here, the Nets and Lakers. So Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant obviously are out. Garrett Temple is also out. Alex Caruso, Dion Waiters, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, all questionable. So the Lakers have covered 4 straight times as double-digit home favorites. They're obviously the massive favorite tonight as 11-point home favorites. What's your perspective here? Do you think this is one of those load management nights for either LeBron or AD, just based on this matchup, or what's your perspective on your Lakers?
No, I mean it would be really messed up if after announcing LeBron probable now to switch to AD. I love AD from a DFS perspective. I don't want to touch this game from a straight betting perspective. I do think the Lakers control it for what it's worth. I'm not sure if the spread would be any different if LeBron was playing. I really think they would be a huge favorite either way. I just am not – it's not my kind of a game to straight bet on. If there was one bet I would make on the game, or I would have considered, it would have initially been the over, but I've even talked myself off of that. I like some plays. So Taurean Prince, he's been terrible, but he's playing minutes, and even in being terrible, he's like getting 5x, and he's 4.1 on DraftKings. I like him there. He's 4.3 on FanDuel. Interesting over there. Anthony Davis is the best play in this game for me, and LeBron would be second on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I would say LeBron is a slightly better play than Anthony Davis due to position scarcity. Other than that, the other guys, like, this is the time, you want to take, if you're playing multiple lineups like I am, play at least 1 or 2 with LeVert. Play 1 with Dinwiddie probably. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably worth it to take a shot on, just no one's playing them because the matchup's bad, but I guess Dinwiddie will get some ownership, but like LeVert at 75, it's not too high for him anymore. We've seen this guy crush 50 a few times lately, so I don't mind it even in a tough matchup. It's not the kind of matchup that's going to be, I don't think, impossible for a guard to get through. So I don't know. I'm open to those guys just at no ownership, but it's just a lot of good plays on the slate.
Got it. Now, in terms of the Nets center situation, one of the teams that is broadcasted around me here in Connecticut. I get to watch every Nets game. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this year, that hasn't been very enjoyable. But last year, it was. But this year, Jarrett Allen and DeAndre Jordan, they're splitting the minutes, pretty evenly at center. They're never really going small.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the game where JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard kind of interest you in any way? Just because obviously you could have Anthony Davis out there playing the five if needed, but do either of those guys interest you at all? Just because you are going to have one of those big guys on the floor on the other side.
I mean, there's some argument to that, but it's easy for AD to play it for me. I don't feel like they're going to close. I don't, if the game is close. I guess you can make an argument for them for tournaments. It's just not the right slate. Like I would rather take that shot when they're going to be on a small slate. It's just I don't know what kind of minutes they're going to get, and they don't really need them at all. Like they might use them a little more because it could be a blowout. Like it just doesn't feel like I need to speculate on this slate for that.
Right. Gotcha.
But I did.
So that's the end of our game section. Before we get into Bobby's lineups and stuff, if you guys have any particular questions when it comes to a certain bet that you're interested in making or certain public or sharp data, if you want to throw it in the chat and let me know, I'd be happy to kind of take a look for you and give you some insight there. Also, if you're interested in a player that hasn't been mentioned yet, post that in the chat, and I'll take a look on RotoQL and let you know where our projection is as well. So once again, our small little family here right now, we're growing this, but you guys can have some of the benefits here. So if you want to throw any of those names or any of those games in chat, we'll look that up for you.
Yeah, I'll take a quick look. I actually have been neglecting the chat a little bit. They've been pretty active today. They're screens away. So sometime we'll figure out how to pace it right and get the questions all answered at once. I'll answer it as they come. But now we might have to just do them all at once in certain bunches, which is sort of what we do across the industry on every show I'm on anyway. So taking a look at just some different thoughts and things people are bringing up. I'm not playing Mulder personally, and other people are talking about him. Just not me. Lou Williams is now out, by the way, and that is going to help Paul George, I think. I don't think it helps him that much. It's fine. It's whatever. I hope it doesn't drive any ownership because it shouldn't really dictate much. But Lou Williams being out does probably help Patrick Beverley, who's 3,700, and may see an increase of minutes, but also it could go to Reggie Jackson. It's not an overwhelmingly important piece of information. It's just I think maybe you consider a little more Beverley. And maybe you do consider Reggie Jackson, but I don't think that's where I'm going to go personally. Let's see. What's good, WW Fresh? Good to see you, man. We got more and more people popping in, so that's a good sign. I did pop up my in the backdrop now on our channel right now. I've got the my lineups on DraftKings, which some people are asking about, so I'm going to answer a few of those things. Favorite game stack from JT Grizzle. His favorite question. I love JT. He comes in every day with the same question, but I like it. JT Grizzle. No worries to be late. You're allowed to come in whenever you want. But favorite game stack is actually I would stack and pray with the Minnesota-Houston game. And then you've got weird like mini stacks, like maybe you can find one in Lillard and you could run it back with Booker or something. Or a lot of 1v1s is where I'm going. So a lot of good plays on the slate overall. So I don't find myself going crazy with the stacking as much. The Bulls game is kind of interesting to me just because of the pricing on FanDuel. But I don't know how much of that I'll end up with in reality. That's absolutely accurate, WW Fresh. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Regardless if we agree or not, I'm glad you appreciate that I wanted to work somewhere where I could say whatever I wanted to say. Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything crazy, Dan. To at least be profitable, how many points are we looking at from each person on FanDuel? Well, you don't look at it from that perspective. You're trying to win. FanDuel is different than DraftKings the way that they're currently constructed. You're trying to win the position, whether it be point per dollar. That means you have to get those points somewhere else. So you should be looking at it from that perspective. Can I win this position? And that might mean, two 5K guys getting you a total of 100, or it might mean two 11K guys getting you a total of 150 or something. That's probably 200 is a little too much to ask for. But it just really depends on the situation. It's really hard to answer those types of general questions because that's like saying, how much should I like a certain player? Like, I don't know what that player is or what the situation or slate is. It's just a very general, very tough one to do. Does the Depot questionable tag scare me? It does a little bit, Eric, to be honest with you. But I'm playing to win tournaments. I'm not playing to be afraid of taking shots on guys. So FanDuel, yes, maybe a little more worrisome over there, but we should have the information in time. Oh my God, so WW Fresh, we can't get into that stuff on air, but I appreciate your support, and you're a good dude. All right, Dan, what else should we talk about? You can't see my lineups, I don't think, but I want those people out there to take a quick look, just because.
And just a quick thing,
yeah.
I posted a link to a free 3-day trial to RotoQL. If some of you guys want to jump on that and check out, some of the projections. As Bobby's been saying, our projections are pretty aggressive, and as you could definitely speak more of that as someone who's been going around the industry trying out a bunch of the different projection systems.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got distracted by chat a little bit. That's bound to happen here and there. Okay, so let's see. What else we got? I wanted to talk a little bit just through some of these lineups. You can see these were initial builds. They were before I went on air, before Lou Williams news, before other news, for LaMarcus Aldridge news, some of them. Although I do think I'm going to stick with a big buy-in DeRozan somewhere. I think that there's still some value to get out of him at 7,400 on DraftKings. And the LaMarcus Aldridge, it's always fun when everybody's going to jump off of somebody. And sure, it's going to hurt his usage. But it's not like it's going to kill his potential usage, and he's been playing well. Let's get 45 out of him and be happy. Let's see. We got who's the heavy chalk? Oh, JT Grizzle asked about riding the Shaq Harrison heavy chalk on DK. Not for me personally. I will have some of him, but it'll be more in the 15 to 20% range, and it'll be a little bit of maybe a mini stack of that game. I don't want to. I think this is I don't think this is safe chalk, and I think that. It's not like this guy's 3K, and even when he was 3K, we would see him score 51 game, and we'd see him score 10 the next game. So just be wary. And all these Bulls are coming back. You got Markkanen getting more minutes now. Porter's getting more minutes. Carter's getting more minutes. Denzel Valentine's getting some minutes. Kobe White's now starting. That means still leave Satoransky on the bench, and Porter's on the bench, and they're gonna. I think that's this move actually with him in the starting lineup. He would be better served almost coming off the bench with Kobe White starting. So. The more I think about it, the more I think I might fade Harrison. Is it scary? Sure. Is there a logical reason to like him? Should he play minutes? Yeah, all these things. There's just a lot of other plays in this slate to play somebody who's going to be owned by half the field. It's an immediately great way to leverage. And even if he does crush, you still have other options. There are other guys who are going to crush on this slate. So that's just sort of that's why I like to fade it personally. That's where I'm at. Anyway, guys, and get any thoughts in the chat about any questions about this. I know that I had some questions about FanDuel before. That might have actually been on my that might have been a DM. But I do want to talk through some of the lineups. I did go with some kind of unusual builds a little bit, but you can see who I like. Right now, not overly committed to a lot of players. A lot of my initial builds are like that. I'm not locking in a lot of these guys, but believe me, you will have a lot more ownership in some of these guys. And one of the big guys I'm going to start to prioritize is, I know I mentioned this thing about how much I love DeRozan, or I like DeRozan still. I do like Paul George better than DeRozan, but I think you can play them together in certain lineups. That's probably what I'm going to do. It's showing a little slow, so I'm not going to make those edits while I'm on air here with you guys, but just wanted to give you guys a quick little shot at my lineup. And you guys are asking about FanDuel now, so I'm going to jump over to FanDuel, and we will get that loaded up real quick. Sorry, Dan, if this is a little boring for you, this part. If you're not... No.
I'm listening just like everybody else. This is great.
Dan doesn't have the screen pulled up, so he may not see all of what we're talking about, but you can see on my FanDuel builds, which I feel a lot better about than my DraftKings builds, which is a little unusual for me. Even when I've win on FanDuel, I usually feel better on DraftKings. I really only am considering, at this point, I'm sort of down to 3 centers on FanDuel. It's Wendell Carter, Vucevic, and Drummond for me. That's all I'm using. You can see my shooting guards, Beasley, Oladipo, obviously with the Q tag, Harden and Russell, DeRozan, this one will probably be eliminated because I don't need to pay $8K for him when I love shooting guard. I do like the Markelle Fultz play at 4,900. Everybody's going to play. Look, isn't this crazy? So we have Markelle Fultz projected for the same amount of minutes, or actually more minutes, the same basically, as Shaq Harrison, and they're missing a player. They're missing Fournier too. They're in a better paced game. Why Shaq Harrison this little lock? Why is there any chance Markelle Fultz only plays 20 minutes? No. Is there a chance Shaq Harrison only plays 20 minutes? Yes. And one of them is going to be 2% owned, the other one's going to be 40% owned. So that's where I'm leaning. You can see the guys I'm paying down for also. That was a question before with the pay downs. Osman Hernan Gomez is a great value. I think got a lot of upside in this type of matchup. Daniel House, Taurean Prince is not one that I love, but I'm sort of okay with it. Like he's just cheap enough. I mean, Mikal Bridges and Paul George, those are my guys.
I know you mentioned Covington as well, and our projection has him at 6.37x DraftKings. So he's definitely a solid play in our model.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought him up because you can see I've got him in all my lineups right now except for one. I'm only playing about 1,300 on FanDuel, but he's in all but one lineup so far. I love him on FanDuel. He's my favorite power forward play. I love the Naz Reid speculative play. And again, I just can't emphasize enough that it may not be tonight, but Wendell Carter is going to be breaking Slate soon, and he's in play on DraftKings at 4,600, but he's really in play on FanDuel at 3,900. It's just, unfortunately, people will get onto this and they'll own him over there, but it's worth it. I mean, this guy's he's an 8K player next year is my guess. So just get ahead of it while you can.
Let me pick your brain on a guy that has really confused me, and I think a lot of people this year, Miles Turner.
Yeah. So what's
going on with him?
We were talking about him a lot a while ago. I think he is a player that his biggest issue in general for a guy who everybody's always kind of liked is that he's very inconsistent, his lack of consistency. So I think that's what's really going on with him. He just goes through these streaks because he's not. And he's never going to be a great go-to post player. Like, he's a good three-point shooter, but he needs other people to create those shots for him. He's just doesn't have the kind of game that's going to lend himself to putting up big numbers. He's a much better player in real life than he is in fantasy. He's a good defensive player, really good help side defensive player, and a guy who some people like tonight. I think it's really strange that at like 4,600, like a week and a half ago, you couldn't have paid somebody to play Miles Turner, and now everyone wants to play him at 5,700. I think that that's a little bit of a mistake, and I think he's fine. He could always put up a number. If he's going to be low owned is when I would try and get him. He's won me a bunch of money because nobody ever plays him, and he does have that upside, especially that shot blocking upside, and he can hit some threes and all this stuff. But he's not a guy he's not a consistent enough player for DFS to use when he's chalky. But he's a great guy to use for tournaments because of his how high variance he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Something over from BetQL I just want to bring up as well before we get off. So back to this Grizzlies and Magic game. The Grizzlies are 2.5 point favorites here. 66% public bet right now. 95% of the money has gone on Memphis as 2.5 point favorites. I just want to point out it's a huge sharp bet, and I think that's something that you brought up earlier, that this was one of the more interesting lines to you.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, it's a line that I think is going to go over. It's interesting that all the money's on Memphis. I think it's a really tough game to decide, but I'll tell you this: it's not going to. This team. The only thing I can predict is that these teams both don't play like one possession games. They both play in blow, especially Memphis. So just be wary that this game could go slanted one way or the other, and it wouldn't shock me. I'm only interested in the total. I think the total I feel good about at 220. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got some other questions coming in chat. Do we think RJax gets more minutes tonight? I think he will. I don't think he's in play for me at the moment, but I think it's fine for some people. I mean, it's fine if you end up there. It's just there's better plays in my opinion. We got a question about, do I think Harrison or White are needed? I don't. I think you can absolutely fade those two guys, even though the projection systems love them, basically across the board. Westbrook and Covington or Harden and Covington? Westbrook and Covington, but that's your factoring price. Straightaway points, I think Harden edges him out here in general. But I like Westbrook better point per dollar, and I wouldn't be surprised if Westbrook outscored him. I just don't think you need to make that decision and leave that much money on the table between the two of them on either side. Personally, we got people still filtering in. So guys, keep asking questions, keep saying your thoughts, give us the like button, make sure you subscribe. Really appreciate all that, and we're going to be doing more and more live shows. I'm even flirting with the idea, and I guess, Dan, we could talk about this. What about one of these nights if I jumped on here and did a sweat show? If maybe one of us or one of the users has got a sweat going.
Absolutely. Up for anything. Hopefully we find ourselves in that situation. That'd be fantastic. I know that you found yourself in that situation a few times this season so far. That big near 100K night. Right when I think your first week, that you started doing videos for us. So, definitely, absolutely. Anytime that happens, reach out to Bobby or reach out to myself on Twitter, and we'll make that happen for sure.
Yeah, no, totally. By the way, they're asking some more questions in there. That is an exciting thing. By the way, we've done a few of those sweat shows, and the people who do tune in for them really do love them. So if we can, who knows, it might even be something down the road we start doing more often, because we can talk to other great pros. We can get the analysis of our lineups and what we did. We can talk about some of the BetQL sharp bets that we were going to make throughout the day and how they did. I think it'd be cool. We got a lot of love for sweat shows in the chat room here. Eric, I know you had a sweat last night, buddy, but I literally was so sick I couldn't get out of bed and watch my own sweat. I couldn't have done a sweat show for myself if I was winning 100K. So WW Fresh is really, I'm not running White and Murray out. White with Murray and Walker out. It's fine. It's a tournament play. I agree with it to some extent. I just am not as in love with it as this projection systems are. I'm still fine with it, but I don't think it's like you absolutely must do this. All right, let's see what else we got. Best low-owned DK center besides Kristaps? That's a good question. I will jump over to my ownerships of each player and tell you the answer that I've got. How about you? Who are some of the people? Do you play much DFS, or you do more straight betting? What's your stuff, Dan?
Definitely more DFS. That's kind of where my background is, but I'm starting to since I came on at BetQL. It's been so easy. To learn about sports betting, to get the best bets of the day, right at your fingertips, really. So once again, I suggest that you guys absolutely just go download the BetQL app. It's completely free. Make a free account. Check out free articles. We break down daily best bets. We break down a lot of these interesting trends, like the over hitting 11 straight times in Magic games, for example. That's the type of stuff you can get. Not only that information, but the reasons behind that information. So really going into the fact that in this span, they've hit 3 more three-pointers per game than their season average. In this span, Aaron Gordon has been averaging 6.5 assists compared to his career average of 2.5 assists, going into the different offensive and defensive ratings, all that kind of good stuff during this span. So we're not only, going to give you here's a cool trend, but we're going to give you the reasons behind it. And most importantly, is this something that we can predict moving forward? So all that stuff right now is completely free. So like I said, download the BetQL app, go to betql.co, sign up for a free account, and check all that stuff out. And it's definitely going to make you a better. And it's definitely, for someone who, is just starting out with sports betting, like I just started out, it definitely will make you, allow you to make some educated bets on a daily basis. So that's kind of where I am in terms of, personally, I'm more of a DFS daily player, but I definitely am dabbling with betting.
Nice, man, nice. I wanted to just answer real quick a couple of those questions in chat. Better play Derek White or Dellavedova? So it's always tricky to answer these questions because if you're going to take players with that big of a price gap, I actually need the difference in price on this slate. So right now it's Dellavedova for me. But now that I look at it, by the way, the one thing I want to clarify before I get out of here is that I do think Derek White is probably a little more in play than I thought, as is Patty Mills. But it's a volatile situation. I don't think all of those guards are just going to go nuts because Lonnie Walker's not around and LaMarcus Aldridge is back. And I understand we already have Murray out, but it's just like, I don't think you go crazy with it. I've been popped so many times this season. I wouldn't go overboard. So I think if Dellavedova is going to play 35 minutes, he might actually be the safer play. But also because I need the savings. If I had a little bit more, I think White outscores him in raw points probably by a tiny bit tonight. I think it's really close. And I do. After looking at a few things that I hadn't looked at, I had Reggie Jackson's price for some reason at 4.9K. So my projection system was going nuts. It's sort of a combination of your guys' projection system and then something I built myself. But Reggie Jackson at 3.9 is absolutely in play on DraftKings. So just wanted to throw that back out there. And Wendell Carter is the best low-owned center, in my opinion. There's 3 good ones on DraftKings. They're all good. All of my favorite ones are low-owned anyway. It's, somewhere between Davis, Vucevic, Porzingis, Drummond, and Carter is where I'm at. I'm pretty much on those guys exclusively.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here in just a minute, guys. So get your last QQs in before we do. And again, please give us the like, the thumbs up. We really appreciate that. And let us know different thoughts you have on the show. You can always send me messages. You can always respond to our tweets. You can write your own tweets to us. Their BetQL app and RotoQL app, either one, but both of them are, tag them both and tag me in there at BobbyFi. We will we'll do what we can to keep making this show as enjoyable. It's nice to see, even though we got small numbers still, that we're trending in the right direction. You guys are staying around longer. There's more of you tuning in, and we appreciate it. And good to get these questions and thoughts in while we can before we have hundreds of people in this room. So it's good. Guys, really appreciate the compliments about the show, and we really appreciate doing it for you. So Dan, with that, anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. Just thank you guys for tuning in. Like Bobby just said, we want to grow this thing. So if you can, share this with your friends, share this with your family, share this, post this on social media, get us out there more. And, we love doing this for you. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards tonight.